Today, we're talking about leadership styles. I think there are really two main leadership styles that people operate under. One is sort of a power-based model, and the other is a servant model. And each of us has nuances and different ways that we express that based on our individual personalities, the characteristics that we have, and especially the motivations that we have. In a previous video, I talked about why you want to be a leader. What are your motivations about being in a leadership role? That really begins to become evident when we look at the style of leader that you are, whether it's more of a power-based leader or a servant-based leader. And for my opinion, and the kind of leader I want to be, and the kind of leader that I want to teach and have in my programs, it's more of a servant leader mindset and approach. I think for bands and music ensembles that are so collaborative in nature and involve so many peers being leaders for one another, the idea of having a servant's heart and a servant mindset in your leadership style, I think just works so much better and people respond to better versus sort of a power-based model. So as we go through the video, I want you to think about the kind of leader that you want to become, and then the kind of leader that you think people respond to best, especially those people in your circle. What are they going to respond to, and what are they turned off by? What demotivates them to work hard and to achieve, and then what motivates them to do those things? So let's take a look at each of these styles one at a time. A few thoughts that I have. First of all, power-based leaders generally are really just thinking about their own motivations. It's just a selfish, sort of self-oriented mindset where everything they do or they teach to others or work with others in it, you can kind of sense, you can tell that it's really their goals and their agenda that this is all about. Watching them achieve success and to work through their own sort of priorities, that really seems to be where they're coming from, sort of a self-centered approach. They also, really important to a power-based leader is the idea that I'm in charge. I want to be the one that's telling people what to do. This is how you're supposed to do it, and you better do it the way I said because I said so. So the idea of a hierarchy, a chain of command. Power-based leaders really thrive under those conditions, and they want things to work in a very orderly fashion the way that I said to do it. Being in charge and doing what I say is really important. And because it's a hierarchy, the idea of being a boss, being the one who tells others what to do is really important for power-based leaders. Maybe you've had a section leader or a drum major or some other leader, a boss, a team member in a work situation you have who was in charge, and you could tell that they really just, what mattered to them was not so much the results that we got, but just that they were the boss. They were the one who was telling people what to do. Being a boss is important to them. And then taking credit. How many times have you been around a leader where what you could really tell that what they really want was somebody to say, oh, you did a good job. Boy, they performed well because of what you did with them. Taking credit, especially taking credit from the people that are above them in that chain of command, like the directors or other staff members who have a little bit of a higher role in that hierarchy. Just getting credit is important for a power-based leader. And they'll do and say whatever they have to look good and to get that credit. Looking good to others. That really sort of self-centered idea that we talked about at the beginning, this is important too, and this is another way that it's expressed. They want to be the person that looks good. So you should do what I say and achieve something good so that I can look good along the way. And that will help me build my resume and my own ego and my own dreams as I focus just about being a leader for my own sort of goals. So this is a little bit of a polarized sort of list. We see a lot of really definitive terms, but I think you can see that a lot of leaders operate that way. On the other side, servant leaders are really the opposite of that. They're not really so focused about themselves. You know, they of course have hopes and dreams too, but what's important to them is that you achieve your dreams too, and that the group achieves its dreams and goals because we're working together. I think one of the great things about being in a band and a music ensemble is that band kids really, they want to help. They want things to be better. They want to see what they can do to make things improve. Every time I do staff interviews, I'm always so pleased and gratified that I hear student after student come in. I say, why do you want to be a leader? And without fail, the majority of them will say, because I want to help. I want to see how I can make the band better. I think that sort of servant's heart lends itself naturally to band leaders, but it's something that we have to cultivate and nurture in ourselves too. An outward focus on others, that sort of servant's heart, servant mindset, is a key characteristic of servant leaders. And because of that, they have a desire to help. They want to help. They want to see others succeed versus just like standing around letting somebody else do everything or telling everybody else what to do. They're looking for solutions. I love to see my leaders after practice, before practice, in a break, looking around proactively. What can I do? Is there some logistic that needs to be helped out with? Is there some person in my section or in the band that's really not kind of getting it right now? How can I go spend just another minute or two or so with them and help them get it better? That desire to help is really important. One of my favorite quotes is by the former CEO of GE, General Electric. He's also an author, and he says, before you're a leader, success is really all about growing yourself, that sort of selfish pursuit. But when you become a leader, success is really all about growing others. The desire to help, the desire to see others grow and succeed. This is a key attribute of servant leaders versus that have more of a selfish pursuit. I also think about the idea of being a mentor, the complete opposite of being a boss. Being a mentor, helping other people learn and grow. That implies that we're giving a lot of feedback, a lot of positive encouragement as we work with others. The idea of we're gonna mentor people to do their best work. Another quote that I really like by another author, whose books I really enjoy, is author's name is Kent Keith, and he says, people do their best work when they're taught and mentored and coached, benefiting from both positive and negative feedback as they make their daily decisions about the work that they do. And I love the idea of being a leader who's also a coach and a mentor. How can you coach and mentor others to improve? How can you see the technical things that they need to do and improve, and then coach them to be better with that positive feedback, that encouragement? Mentors are servants at heart, I think, and that's a great way to look at it. And as we do that, we find that our role in leadership is much more about influence. How can I get people to work harder? How can I get people to try a little bit more, to sharpen their skills a little bit better in the areas that we're working on? So I'm going to use my influence, not just my authority. I have a title, and so people sort of have to do what I say because of that title, but they'll only do so much. Authority, I think, has a ceiling on it that begins to run out, especially with high school students, and especially when you're working with just your peers and your colleagues. That's a really complicated dynamic. So try to think about how you can use your influence, your personal example, others seeing how hard you're working on a daily basis. That's another way that we show our influence, that we're really working for the better of everything, not just to sort of advance our own agenda as we go through things. And then lastly, it's just about eliciting the best from others. It sort of, in my mind, all comes down to, as a leader, how can I get the best from others? I think we all have enormous capacity for good and enormous potential as we go through the things that we do. But oftentimes it's untapped. How can we get the best out of others? I think inspiring them through our influence and through our own personal example is a big part of that. Being able to be a hard worker yourself so that other people are looking up to that. Up to you and trying to copy what you're doing, being a good listener to others when they need someone to talk to, or they just need to express a problem that they're having. This elicits the best from others when they feel like they're heard. Encouragement as we go through things. Encouragement is a really big part of eliciting the best from others. I think people get tired, they get frustrated. And so when the leader is able to always be a person who's positive and encouraging to others as they do it one more time, that's a really, really huge factor in getting people to do their best. One more quote that I'll share with you. This is by another author, James Hunter. He says, effective leaders encourage those around them to be the best they can be. Effective leaders push, cajole, pull, and encourage others to raise their level of play. They encourage others by their willingness to share their knowledge and experiences and are a constant positive influence to the people around them. That's full of great information. I love the idea that leaders, even servant leaders, they push, they cajole, they really expect high expectations for people to perform and to do well and to improve. But the way they do it, through encouragement, through being positive, through being open and honest about their feedback, but at the same time being a coach or a mentor, I mean, these things really, I think, make us all respond better. I know they do for me. When I'm around a leader who is working with me in that way, then I tend to do more. I tend to give more, and I think the results show as well. One of the things that I think we want to think about too when we look at power-based and servant leaders is to not be confused about what a servant leader really is. Sometimes people get kind of confused or mixed up on the term servant in their leadership style. Servant does not mean be a slave to someone. Servant leaders do all the things that other leaders do too. It's just the approach that they take. A servant leader is not going to get run over and told what to do. That's not going to work. You have to have courage to be a servant leader. You have to have the courage to be really honest with people about their performance. The courage to make a hard decision. Servant leaders do that, but their motivation is about helping others achieve and helping us as a group achieve. Servant leaders are great models. They work to be great models for the ideals that we're trying to accomplish and achieve and be guided by in our work here with our group. So it's encouragement, it's feedback, it's being a great model, and it's really trying to develop a mindset and a heart that helps others succeed versus it being mostly about what you're doing yourself in your own journey. So I encourage you to keep building those skills, to keep thinking about the kind of leader that you want to be, and try to adopt as many of these servant leader qualities as you can.